We need to put some hold-on maneuvers.
This is where the fun begins.
Hello there.
Hello. Welcome back to another episode of the Hold on Maneuver. With me, as per always, is Michael Soren, somewhere on the screen. And joining us again, Mr. Adam Molloy, also somewhere else on the screen.
Hey.
Hello. That felt weird to me because, never mind. Yeah.
That's my goal whenever I'm on here, is just to make you as uncomfortable as possible. So,
well, there you go. So welcome to the Hold on Maneuver podcast. I'm Mark. Like I said,
and I'm Mike.
And I'm Adam.
Hardworking dads.
Adam is two hardworking dads trying to immerse himself in a Star Wars and fit it into his very busy life. But if this is your
a very busy life.
Yes, he's got that Grogu up there on his side. He's got to take care of him. But if this is your first time listening, and/or watching, in this podcast, we'll share our thoughts on different topics from a galaxy far, far away.
You want some soup?
No, thank you. But Mike, you got a question for Adam, don't you?
What do you call the era where Jay and Silent Bob were Jedi?
I don't know. What do you call that era?
The High Republic.
Huh.
Yeah. Welcome, everybody. If this is your first time listening, that is our thing. We do the Star Wars dad jokes. So yes,
absolutely.
Welcome back, Adam, to the Hold on Maneuver podcast.
Yeah.
So we're talking about the series premiere of The Acolyte, which was they showed us 2 episodes this week. So we got the first episode was Lost / Found, and then episode 2 was Revenge / Justice. So kind of just like before we kind of start really breaking it down, what are kind of like your general overall impression and thoughts that after these first 2 episodes, Adam, and then Mike?
Yeah, I mean, I was excited for this to begin with. One, because it's an era of Star Wars that I don't really know a whole lot about. But also I love when Star Wars does genre stuff, and the fact that we just get a full-on like mystery is great. And I think the fact that they've gone back and forth between saying like, okay, we're gonna do some stuff that's not Jedi centric, like Andor, which I love, and now the fact that they're going back into the Jedi stuff, Jedi Sith, like, yeah, I thought it was really fun. And I know I have a feeling that everything's been a little bit telegraphed in terms of like the mystery, but at the same time, I'm excited to see where it goes.
Nice. How about you, Mike?
I know nothing of the High Republic. I probably know more about it if it were a Jay and Silent Bob era of Star Wars. But
Revenge of the Smith.
Never mind. Can't say it. We're still too early in the episode. It was a fun watch for sure. It was interesting because they had the trailer, and I remember being excited for that. And then like that's the first 10 minutes of the first episode was the trailer we got.
Oh yeah. Oh, and there you go. Mike is gone. It's a live show, but I guess I'll go while Mike comes back on. But yeah, I enjoyed it. Like he was kind of saying, I brought my son to see Phantom Menace when they had it in theaters a couple weeks ago, and they showed basically the scene with Carrie-Anne Moss at at the very tail end of the credits there, and like I said, it's like he was saying, it's pretty much it was like this opening scene, which I'm cool with, because I kind of like actually when with trailers where it's like front of story heavy. Mike's still coming back with us. Because then that way you're not like spoiled on the end of the story. You're just kind of like, you're already just kind of like pre-prepared for that opening that you already kind of got familiar with. So if anything, you're getting kind of like a double shot of and a little bit more prepared, I guess, at that point. But now that Mike's back, you got taken out. And you're still muted, Mike. I don't know. This is a live show, everybody. Yeah.
All right,
I don't know.
man.
Oh, there you go. There's
Whole
Mike.
set, like crap to bed.
It's the Sith.
Yeah,
Sith
they
did
knew
it.
it. Playing that the Jedi never see the Sith coming.
Yeah.
No, it was like I said, it was a good watch. It was, you saw the first 10 minutes of the show was the trailer outside of one particular scene with Carrie Ann Moss there and her untimely exit. But
Yeah.
I know nothing about this era, so a lot of it was like, okay, that's cool, that's different. And then the one fight scene in the episode 2 with Soul and May, it felt different than anything we've seen before because of how calm Soul was, and it was just like such an interesting dynamic because we're so used to the Force fight scenes with all the flippy shit and all the run around real fast and the lightsabers going, and it didn't happen.
Yeah.
Good watch. Intrigued to see where it goes. As Adam said, a lot was telegraphed. It felt small, like you could tell they were indoors for the outdoor scenes, which, okay, they're on a nice planet. What are you going to do? But it just felt small instead of the big world that we're supposed to be in.
Yeah. I mean, it didn't feel like it was in the volume, though. Like, because
I wasn't sure if it was. That was one of my questions, if it was in the volume or not.
Yeah, the three of us recently talked about this, and if you want to see more about that, the episode just before.
You should have been there.
Yeah, but no, you can watch and listen to the one that we recorded live at Fan Fusion recently. We talked about all the Disney Plus shows, but yeah, like you couldn't. This one, it's not like as readily apparent if they did use the volume in this. There's definitely scenes where I can tell that they did. It did seem like they shot it on location, especially. Like the one that's like on like the coast and near the end of episode 1. That one definitely feels like it was shot on location outside.
Some of the hyperspace scenes felt like they were in the volume to me.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, those are gonna. I feel like hyperspace scenes from like now on are just probably easier to do in that because it's easy to do. Like it's essentially like the old like rear projection driving in a car shot, but in space,
not
going through hyperspace.
Not green screen.
Yeah,
not big steering wheel.
But yeah, and so like the main synopsis for the show too is the Acolyte is a mystery thriller that will take viewers into a galaxy of shadowy secrets and emerging dark side powers in the final days of the High Republic era. Former Padawan reunites with her Jedi Master, which we saw on this, to investigate a series of crimes, but the forces they confront are more sinister than they ever anticipated. So in this episode alone, we met Amanda Stenberg, who is Osha and May, who are twin sisters who were separated by a tragedy when they were young. Osha's former Padawan, Saul, who left the Jedi Order due to internal turmoil she has regarding her connection to the Force. And then May was presumed dead until she reemerges as a dangerous warrior using the dark side of the Force. As you do. Yeah. And it's briefly said, but it also says that they have moms. So they're also possibly fathers, twins. So some people were speculating that similar to, like how Shmi had Anakin just, like immaculately, that maybe possibly Osha and May are also somehow immaculately conceived of the Force. So that should be interesting to see if that is.
And somehow Palpatine returns.
I mean, on that too. I mean, it could be another dyad situation if they're trying to flesh that out a little bit more too. And I mean, there could be a reason why the sus Jedi that she's taken out, if it could be a reason why they kept them separated, or kept Osha unaware that May was alive.
Yeah, I know what you did last summer by way of Star Wars.
Mhm.
Pretty much.
I still know what you did.
Yeah, and then
every subsequent scene. They had to have made a third one of those.
I don't think they did. Anyways, but yeah, so after that, we met Lee Jong-jae as Saul, who is a respected Jedi Master, Charlie Barnett as Yord Fondar, a by-the-book Jedi Knight and Temple Guardian, Daphne Keene as Jeki Lon, Soul's current young Padawan. She's a half-human, half-Thelan, like the character Ristel Sant, a background character from the film Return of the Jedi. And then Rebecca Henderson as Vernestra Rao, who is a senior member of the Jedi Order, who rose to prominence as a young prodigy. And she's the bald green character, who is like the only like pre-existing character that was in some of the books and comics prior to this show. So for the book readers and like comics and whatnot, they've already met this character. But for us who are maybe just watching this show, and this is, like we've said, this is our first intro to the High Republic, this is our introduction to her as well. And then there's also, let's see. Yeah, Carrie-Anne Moss, we met as Indara. And her whole explanation is a Jedi Master proficient in Force Fu fighting.
Is she, though?
I mean, this is where you cue Keanu saying, I know Force Fu. Which, we can talk about that scene really quick before we name off the last few cast members, is that they definitely leaned into the Matrix-ness of
very much
Carrie-Anne Moss. And I am saying Carrie-Anne Moss. I'm not saying the wrong Carrie in Star Wars this time. Also a reference back to our panel. You can go watch that. But yeah, I like you said too. We saw this opening scene. If you went to go see Phantom Menace in theaters, it played at the end of that. It was in most of the trailers they put out for this too. But like a lot of the Force Fu movements in this, even like the score there was kind of felt like had like cues of like Matrix-esque score to it there in that scene too. And then just like between like how she's fighting and Saul fights with May too, it feels very like, Neo doing.
Well, they even had the camera shot where all of a sudden it goes slow-mo and the camera goes around her. They even did that. So I was yep.
Yeah, and they gave gave her some wire work. So yeah, they were leaning into it.
Yeah.
And then it was it for her.
Yeah. Well, I have a feeling you don't get Carrie-Anne Moss to do like what 5-10 minutes of the series and then like put her on a bunch of posters and promote like promotional material. I mean, maybe you do, but like I think Star Wars has done flashbacks now, so I feel like there's going to be a flashback, or maybe there'll be like a whole episode that's a full flashback to whatever happened.
Because there's definitely stuff in trailers with her and the rest of the like I said, the sus Jedi. And I mean, so like you see it, like younger versions of them. So like there's definitely going to be one. I just don't know where that's going to fall.
If IMDb is accurate, she's only listed in one episode.
Oh.
Well,
and it wasn't even a full one.
User editable, so we shall see.
Yeah, that's why I said accurate. There was a preface there.
And then so like the last two cast members we didn't announce or didn't read off yet were Manny Jacinto, Ordos. People who have watched The Good Place may recognize Manny Jacinto. He's a former smuggler who now lives a life of leisure. And then Junis Sutambo.
You wouldn't get that from the episode we watch.
Yeah, as Kel Naka, which I know other Wookiees don't have like the Aka at the end of their name, but I just thought that was kind of funny that at
Why
least
not?
the two Wookiee that Junis has played have the Aka, Chewbacca,
The Aka.
Kelnaka at the end of their names. So a Wookiee Jedi who lives a solitary life. And then Junis, like I said, he also portrayed Chewie more recently after Peter Mayhew, who had passed the baton to him before he had passed away himself. And then the last like major cast member that they had announced and who they were playing, but I don't believe we've seen them in this episode. But they're also like on the posters is Jodie Turner-Smith as Mother Anicia, and it says she's the leader of a coven of Force witches. So I'm also wondering if, I mean, this wasn't really anything we saw in the episode, but some stuff that we heard with like them talking about like the fire and whatnot on the planet that May and Osha were on. So I'm wondering if like she was one of their moms and something was going on with her with that. So I mean, I'm assuming we'll find that out soon enough in one of the next 6 episodes that are yet to come out still. But that's the main cast of characters that we have in there. So
There is a missed opportunity. They could have made Lumpy or Itchy or one or the other from the holiday special Wookiees a Jedi here. They could have.
Yeah.
Although it would have had to have been like, it would have had to been Chewbacca's dad because of like how old he was if they wanted to do that. Since Yoda's technically, because he could have been enjoying some VR there while he's in solitary. I mean, it's the perfect time to enjoy some
completely innocent VR.
Yeah. He lives in the middle of nowhere, so
yeah. I mean,
what else you gonna do?
They say you get hairy hands. His entire body's covered in hair, so go with that with what you will. I'm not gonna.
How's his eyesight?
I don't know. But anyways, to transition from that, we're not going to play any of a certain genre of music, which is Adam's favorite. But yeah, there you go. If you know what genre of music that is, there you go.
Don't say it because then you're going to have an explicit label put on the podcast.
It's called Jats now. What are you talking about? What are you talking about?
That's no.
It's called Jats.
Wailing.
Cowards.
It's wailing.
Yeah, it's called Jats.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
We'll
so what is that hill made of? Anyways, the episode 1 is called Lost/Found. And in this episode, it's 100 years before the rise of the Galactic Empire. The Galactic Republic and Jedi Order reside during a time of centuries-long peace. And like we said, in a bar in the planet Yoda. And all these planets have a shit ton of vowels and very low amount of consonants in their names. A lot, I've noticed.
And more bars than people.
It's true.
Or one bar for everybody.
Yeah, you know what you got to do. And Jedi Master and Dara is attacked and killed by a woman wielding daggers. So in that too, during like the scene, like everyone thinks that the bartender there identifies Osha, who we meet a little bit later on in here too. And one of the things I did think was funny. I said this when I was watching Ralph, who was in the chat here a little bit ago, when they were doing live action Star Wars earlier today. So I thought it was funny that someone named Osha, which is also the abbreviation for the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, was in an unsafe work environment on the outside of that ship that she was working on. So I just thought it was funny that, it's like nice guys. But also the other thing I liked in the opening episode is that the autopilots on that prisoner ship double as chairs.
That was a note that I frantically scribbled down when I saw that was just all caps chair droids. Like I got unreasonably excited for that.
Those now need to be
they
on.
even brace for impact. They're just like, oh crap.
those chairs need to be like on a future ride at Galaxy's Edge now.
Yeah. It also kind of gives off like Flintstones vibes, where like I can picture them like some like smelly captain getting up off of him, and it just like turns to camera and just goes, "It's 11," you know.
Nice. I feel like that's what Pip might do, like the other new little like handheld Game Boy droid.
The merch
Yeah.
push.
Hey, that's where the real movie or the real money from the movie is made, in merchandising.
It's true.
I mean that's where George Lucas made most of his money off of the first movie.
Oh, I'm well aware.
Yeah, I think that's
But
still
it's
where he
comical
probably
now.
most of the money off of Star Wars is from the merchandising.
That's why we have Spaceballs. They weren't allowed to do merchandising. That was the only requirement.
That's right. Spaceballs 2: The Quest for More Money. Yeah, but what did you guys kind of think of like these like whole kind of opening scenes, like touch on autopilot being droids, and that opening scene there? Did you guys have like anything that stood out like in these kind of first opening scenes from the episode with Carrie-Anne Moss, or like we're introduced to Osha there at all?
I like the fact that this entire show is kind of leaning into the Jedi are really bad at this vibe that kind of gets fleshed out in the prequels. And you know, there's a scene, you know, when they're talking about Osha potentially committing that crime, and it said something like, she couldn't have done this, there must have been some mistake, if our political enemies find out about this. I'm like, God, you guys are so bad at this. Like, and it's all about saving face, or it's all about just like, oh well, we want to cut ourselves off from emotion. And I'm like, yeah, that doesn't go well. Like, it's not like, that's not what you should be doing. So it's a lot of that, and it's good to see this High Republic thing where I think they're at this like peak hubris, and they're at this point where that they, you know, there's really no questioning like, oh, we're doing the right thing, but like you see them just make mistake after mistake. And so like the first scenes, you know, with Carrie-Anne Moss, like just her kind of trying, I appreciate that this is the part of the like the era of the Jedi where they don't bring out the lightsabers unless they absolutely need to. And she's at that point where she does the, you know, the force foo, and you know, it's all defensive, and then she doesn't pull out the lightsaber until the very last second. So I appreciate that they're kind of leaning into that, except for really one character that I'm sure we're going to talk about later, who is very trigger happy. But yeah, I appreciate that they're kind of like in this era where they're considered infallible, and then, you know, 100 years later, they're all going to realize like, oh no, we're bad at this.
Yeah. What you were saying there too, really quick, about like how like they're wanting to like basically like rush the trial, so like they keep it kind of hush hush. It kind of reminded me, for people that have watched the Clone Wars, like the whole like Ahsoka trial thing, when they think that she did certain stuff. I'll try to keep it vague just in case someone hasn't watched it yet.
I'll see myself out. I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, it's all right. I'm just so that like they're trying to basically like rush that through, and like they got that wrong too, because Ahsoka didn't do that. But like they were more worried about, you know, optics rather than actually getting the correct justice for like what actually happened in whatever situation. So that's why
entity. They're not really much anything else.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
the more we learn about the Jedi, the more you're like, wow, you guys are kind of a-holes.
It's true. Stealing kids from their family when they're babies.
Can't have attachments. Can't. It's just, the more we learn, the more it's like, maybe the gray Jedi are the smart Jedi.
It's true. But yeah, like the other thing that I kind of I liked, especially like in the beginning of episode 2, is like loved all the creativity with like all of like the different aliens, creatures, and droids, and like humanoid like beings. Or seeing like some of them for the first time. There's like some like really creative looking aliens that I don't think we've ever seen before. Like there's like that one dude or being or whatever that was in one of like the jail cells that looked like if RoboCop's like suit had been like consumed by the flesh on his head or face or something. That's all I could picture, is like RoboCop, but what if his suit was under his skin instead? But then there's just like some other.
I have to
like,
go back and watch. I don't recall that.
I don't know. It was like this. It was like it almost had like a Cyclops kind of like visor going on with him.
I don't remember. I was
Yeah.
when that scene first came on. It was late last night, and I think I turned it off at that point because I was like, I got to pay attention to this. I can't focus.
He kind of
Yeah.
looks like the body that Krang was in the Ninja Turtles cartoon. Like that's kind of the best way I could describe that guy's face. I think it's like a variation on like Lobot from Empire Strikes Back when he had the cybernetic thing in the back, and then they add because he had that, and then they added the one in the front.
Yeah,
But,
there's a Star Wars
creature design was cool.
There's a Star Wars character that was in Rebels that's voiced by Josh Gad. Has like a Lobot-esque thing on his head, and that character basically looks like me. So if you look up Josh Gad Rebels character, you'll just basically see an animated likeness of this guy. So that would probably be my easiest Star Wars cosplay to ever do. I just need to get like that costume and the thing on my head, and there you go. He's even wearing glasses and he's got a beard, so it's like it's like already there. But like one of the other things that I enjoyed in like the front of this episode too is that now like in here, like during like there's a whole opening kind of scene with OSHA. They're like fixing the outside of the ship there, and I've seen random people complain about there being fire in space. Which, if you watched A New Hope, when the Death Star blows up,
a lot of fire.
Yeah.
Oh, wait. Spoilers. Come on.
Sorry, I didn't say who did blow up the Death Star, but one of the actors from the show did, and just look that clip up if you haven't seen it yet. But yeah,
there's a certain group of the fandom that is very upset about that.
Yeah,
all of a sudden.
All I'll say for that is being someone that accidentally said the wrong name of somebody the other day for a thing in this is like the person he was just excited about what he was talking about and slipped on a name when he knew what he meant. And unlucky for him, it just happened to be recorded for an interview being posted for everybody to watch.
Right.
Yeah. Also working enough like press junkets, these guys are talking about this nonstop to 1,000 people who are asking them the same questions over and over. You're gonna slip up, like it just happens. It's like these are these grueling press tours that they're obligated to do contractually. So like he's gonna slip. Also, if you're mad about that, but then you're okay with Harrison Ford just basically being like, I don't care about any of this, you nerds, then it's like maybe there's a different reason why you're upset about it. Not to get into it, but so
had to be perfect all the time.
It's like like I love like Mark Hamill talks about people, and he goes, I love that you all know this. You know so much more about this than I do, and I think that's great. And then Harrison Ford's version is, you all know so much more about this than I do, and screw you. And they're both great. Like I love both versions of that. So like I think everybody just needs to chill.
Yeah,
no,
I did like Daphne Keane did try to save him a little bit. She's like, just shut up. Just shut up. She's like, if you keep talking, it's going to keep getting recorded and it's going to keep going.
It's like, just kill the soundbite.
Yeah. But yeah, so speaking of him, we meet Jedi Knight Yor Fondar and his Padawan, Tassi Loa, who so they're en route to Coruscant. And did you guys know that Coruscant, that the entire planet is one big city?
Blew my mind.
Yeah, Rick Oley said something about that, but yeah, it's it's pretty impressive.
Except that one peak where they throw the popsicles.
Yeah. It is cool though, because I watched it again and I did see like the fact that the cityscape has expanded since then, which is kind of cool that they put that detail in there. Like there's actually a little bit of greenery in there. But so it's I always love seeing Coruscant. Like I always think it's cool to see where it is in different eras, and I would have loved to have seen Coruscant in the sequels too. But yeah,
That would be interesting.
Wasn't
yeah,
there
because
a-
well,
in
there's
Tales
a,
of the Jedi that they mentioned Qui-Gon's from Coruscant and how he's fascinated by trees
oh yeah,
of
because
the
he
lack of
like
trees.
barely
Yeah.
sees any. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, because not many people are from Coruscant. It's like well, me like living in Arizona, like not many people are from Arizona. They just kind of like moved here from other places. So that's kind of like what the equivalent is, I guess, for kind of like Coruscant, where it's like everyone moves there because the entire planet is one big city. But
You don't say.
yes. So, anyways, Jedi Knight Yor Fundera and his Padawan Tassiloa. So they're en route to Coruscant, the galactic capital. Osha's fellow prisoners escape and leave her to crash land on the planet Karlak. And I like this scene too because it's like one like show not tell, like showing what kind of a person Osha is too. Like she like knows that this dude that's got
The
whatever
face hugger.
Yeah, the Star Wars version of a face hugger. Their face, which I think wasn't there's something similar to that in Rogue One, right? Or no, it was
Borg Gullet.
yeah, the Bort Gullet, right? Yeah. So I
Yeah.
don't remember. Was it this? It was similar but different.
It was, yeah. I think somebody mentioned the name of the face hugger, and it's a different thing, but it's like the same idea. Borg Gullet's just this big version of it that kind of like puts tentacles in your ears and eyes. But
But when you say Bort Gullet, you have to say it like Forrest Whitaker.
Borg Gullet.
There you go.
Yeah.
Let the
But,
professionals do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, you definitely see, who she is, and you see that, she could have easily gotten out of there, and she didn't. And it's a fun parallel to what May did in that first scene, where if you didn't know that twist, the fact that she was going to kill the bartender and then saw that it was, bring your kid to work day. So she's like, no, I'm good. So it's like that. I thought that was a fun parallel too.
I initially thought that when they go to the ship where Osha is working, I was like, oh, so that was the end of the season we just watched. Now they're going to show us how we got there. I did not expect more twins in space.
Although I've seen somewhere, or I don't know if it's still going to be a thing, but it was like supposed to be like a Rashomon story. For people that don't know what that is, if you've seen a few Quentin Tarantino's movies, just basically think Pulp Fiction, where the story is told out of order from different points of view, or Reservoir Dogs. That's what this show is originally kind of rumored that it was going to be, like where we kind of saw the entire story from, like, say, Osha's point of view, and then you go to the next episode, and then it's like all from May's point of view, and so on and so forth. Which we might still get that, maybe, like, but it's not. It won't be as much of like a centerpiece, because it feels like that rumor came from somewhere that, like, someone didn't just like, make. I mean, someone could have just made that up, I guess, but that could be an interesting way to tell like a detective story like this too, and try to figure that kind of stuff out. Because then that way, it's always like the audience knows a little bit more than the characters do. Yeah,
a Star Wars film noir.
Yeah, that could be fun. Yeah, so like another one of the notes I had here too was so Mike, you had a note about his yellow lightsaber here too.
That was more prevalent in the second episode to me.
Yeah,
than the first.
Which I looked it up just to see, because like I know like more recently like Rey has had like the gold / yellow lightsaber at the end of Rise of Skywalker, and then Luke had it in the Shadows of the Empire book, or story as well. So at least as far as 4,000 BBY, which is like 3,900 years before when this story takes place, at least during then, blue indicated a Jedi Guardian, a Jedi who used the Force on a more physical level. Green indicated a Jedi Consular, so a Jedi referred to reflect on the mysteries of the Force and fight the dark side at its heart. And then yellow indicated a Jedi Sentinel, a Jedi who honed their skills in balance of combat and scholarly pursuits. So I thought that was kind of interesting. A lot of the times now, too, they're kind of
uses it as a flashlight.
Yeah. I mean, when you're using it practically on those sets, you know,
Yeah.
do what you got to do. I mean,
I love that too, because I love the green being the you know, like more, you know, meditative. He's like, oh, I'm going to take it in. And then you see Qui-Gon Jinn, because he just pulls that thing out like every 5 seconds. He is ready to go. So I'm afraid that I just involuntarily made another bad sound bite, but
pulls it up. Excuse me while I whip this out.
But
well, speaking of that,
yeah.
He does just like whipping out his yellow lightsaber, whereas like, and usually the only intent when you take out your lightsaber is like you're essentially wanting to use it to kill or whatever. Whereas within Indara,
to fight,
or as a flashlight, like you said,
flashlight,
or like where we saw with Saul or Indara, where like Saul doesn't even use it in episode 2, whereas Indara like waits maybe like 3 or 4 minutes into that fight where she's like, oh, okay, I do need to take my saber out to use it at this point. So they don't use it unless they absolutely positively feel like they need to use it.
Well, one interesting aspect in both the fights was May was always trying to grab the lightsaber. I noticed.
Yeah. Which
I didn't know what that was about.
Yeah, what do you guys think about like her whole kind of mission where like she's trying to get the 4 that she's going after to fight her? Like she basically like, you know, like come on, hit me.
No.
Like but like with that, so like she kind of wants them to make the first like move, like to instigate the fight, but she's not using like a saber or anything like that. She's just using these daggers. Which what are your thoughts like on her whole kind of mission statement, or what she's meant to be doing there, with also she's like talking to on the, you know, the coast there? What do you think's going on there?
The guy says to her about killing Jedi, so it pertains to that. Basically, like you can't kill them in a fight or something.
Yeah, you can't like steel and laser is useless against them. You have to kill them without a weapon, and like, which I think he's probably talking more about like as an idea. But yeah, I think her whole thing is her like Kill Bill thing that she's doing is. Yeah, I think that must be. I think that's what's great about this is you're kind of learning like Sith initiation stuff. Like that's part of it where he says like, well, you've got to kill one of these guys without a weapon, and so that's probably just part of it. And you know, they're probably just using this hatred that she has to like create sort of a weapon in this person. You know, like she's sort of the. You know, timeline wise, she's sort of the Darth Maul, because Palpatine was training Darth Maul before he killed Darth Plagueis. So she's basically warming up, and then they're gonna, you know, put her in. So I think whoever the masked guy is with the big smile, I'm pretty sure he's the apprentice, and he's just grooming this, you know, replacement so that they can overthrow whoever they're serving. And I've also got some thoughts on who I think that actually is. But yeah, I think her fighting style and the fact that she's going after them without a weapon and that she's trying to get them to make the first move. And like, you know, Carrie-Anne Moss, she doesn't bring out the lightsaber until civilians are in actual danger. You know, the entire other time she's like, okay, I can counter this, you know. Then as soon as she starts going after other people, then she pulls that. So.
Yeah, and really the only reason she died is because she saved a civilian and then took the focus off of herself, and then that's when.
Yep.
So I still think whatever those 4 did was probably probably bad, but at But
I was
at least
wondering
now,
if it was
present
just
day.
they didn't save her, they thought they killed her sister, maybe, or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
curious
we'll
for
find
like,
out, obviously. But
yeah, like when we get that flashback or whatever it is, to I almost feel like Saul was like the least involved with that, and maybe like found out after the fact, or maybe that's why like he took on Osha as a Padawan as like some kind of penance, or to try to like make up for whatever happened there for what they thought happened to May. So I am curious to when we see what happened there.
Well, what's interesting to me though is even at this point in time, the Jedi were like, "You're too old. Get away."
Oh yeah,
Like so like that's just a common theme. Like they clearly they don't learn from their mistakes very quickly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because like when is like the exact age they start training these kids?
It's like 2. Like it's early. It's like 2 or 3 years old, and there's the like the canon story for Obi-Wan is that he was like, I think 5 or 6 maybe, and he wasn't showing enough promise, and so they were like, well, all the Jedi that don't become Padawans, they it's called like Agricorps or something. They basically send them off to be in like the farming wing of the Jedi, like the FFA. And so I think, they start them really, really early. And also like when you're indoctrinating people, it's probably a lot easier before they form any kind of attachments. And to be fair with the Anakin issue, like I guess they had that right, because he had that attachment to his mom, and then he had all those big feelings and didn't know how to, act on them.
However, had Mace Windu just been like, "Yes, you're a
dick.
Jedi Master," or just like even Yoda, instead of being like, "We won't train you, get the hell out of here," just been like, "Sure, let's do it." Maybe those big feelings could have been managed a little better.
Fun fact: Yoda is on the council currently right now, within this time period. Just 100 years younger than he is in Phantom Menace, but
yeah.
But does he talk normal? Has he had a stroke yet?
I don't know. Yaddle's probably still there, maybe. She hasn't been squished yet. Yeah, she didn't get squished by that door yet.
She in Tales of the Jedi, she talked normally, right?
Yes.
Yeah, because it's just Bryce Dallas
Just
Howard.
a weird raspy voice, but normal.
Doing Bryce Dallas Howard voice. Sound like Gwen Stacy in Spider-Man 3.
The Yoda voice, that's a bit, right? Like he's just screwing with people.
that would be kind of funny if it was like the same. Well, because Yoda, is known to do that. I.e., Empire Strikes Back, how he's acting like a crazy hermit dude. That's probably like half true, because he probably is like half crazy from being there that long in solitary. But then also like him just like walking like this into Count Dooku, and then it's like, "What's up, Count Dooku? Let's do this," and then starts doing 800 flips and stuff. So
goes Tony Hawk on him.
He's like,
do you think he just he just comes home and goes to like his doorman? He's just like, "Hi, Terry," just like, "Oh God, that was exhausting. Another day of this."
It's like, more people pay attention when I talk like this, because they have to listen every word to make sure they're listening to it, and then I'm saying it in the correct order. I was like, "Begun the Clone War has the other day." This guy, and he was like, "What?" I feel like this was probably like the entire like subject of one of those Star Wars Detours episodes that we'll maybe never ever see, unless you work at like Skywalker Ranch or Lucasfilm, and they have like those employee like watches that maybe you don't get to watch them. Maybe you only get to watch them if you're Seth Green or George Lucas, and that's it.
No, Yoda. He had to have had a stroke or something. Just
I don't know, but you
a
might just have
metachlorians just sitting right here.
Wow. All right. So like speaking of Yord here too, like because you were talking about Mace, is that like he's like how we're seeing how Saul's like kept more like calm and like reserved, not, and then like, and even like with Daphne Keene's character, what's her name again?
X-23.
Yeah, X-23. Yes, or like she's like more, thinks about the situation before doing anything. Saul is more reflective on it, whereas like Yor just like whips out the yellow lightsaber, and he's all like also like early on here too with like talking about Osha, and it feels like he's like a more boastful, kind of fearful Jedi that we like would meet in the prequels, like Ki-Adi Mundi or like Mace Windu, or is like just highly kind of like suspect of like anyone that's not, like a Jedi that they think is not
off-color
like, straight and
lightsaber.
narrow.
They don't know what to do.
Yeah, you got it. You got yellow
Red or
lightsaber,
blue,
you
you're
got
good.
purple lightsaber. Yeah,
Green and blue, you're just like, oh yeah, this is the way. And then yellow and purple, they're like, we're gonna be assholes about everything.
No, this is the way. That's a different show. But you were saying that in your notes you said something about X-23. Went a different path than Weapon X.
Yeah, she did not go all uber Canadian, gonna kill everyone in America, fight the X-Men, join the X-Men path. She became a Jedi.
Yeah, probably because all that dust after taking on God and his dark materials with Professor Xavier, who was her dad in that show.
Gotta love it.
Yes, I can't keep the timelines correct.
And then her dad went over to the Starship Enterprise and said, "Peace out."
There you go.
Also, speaking of Yord, I also love the fact that he's just
Yord.
like this Yord horde. There's like just this huge Jedi nerd. It's just this guy that's like this rule follower, and just him steaming the cloaks, and
Oh yeah, the cape when he's sitting down.
It's that trigger happy cop that's like in his first couple of months, and it's like I like the character and I like the actor. It's just going to be really interesting to see him kind of realize like, oh, this isn't going to go well. Like I have a feeling something bad's going to happen to this guy.
Him turn his lightsaber red and appear from the shadows as the mastermind.
I just think he's going to end up eating it in a really terrible way. Like I just think like.
I mean, he could.
Yeah.
He could. Which you said you liked the actor. I recognize him from if anybody else watched Arrow on the CW. He was Diggle's son in the future. So
I can't figure out what I recognize him from.
But yeah, that's what I recognized him from. But yeah,
allegedly he was in Men in Black 3.
Yeah, he played some like random character in that as he was coming up. But yeah, so that was the end of episode 1 for Lost/Found, and then this will take us into episode 2, which is Revenge/Justice. So in this one, May attempts to kill Jedi Master Torben, who is one of the Lannister offspring from Game of Thrones, for those of you that watched that, in a temple on the planet Olega, but is prevented by his forced meditation. Torben has been floating in silent meditation for over a decade. So
I was wondering why they cast somebody so young, and then I realized that the flashbacks are going to happen. Because I was like, with that makeup and that wig, I was amazed that I'm just like, why is this child in a receding hairline wig? But my note there, just again, all caps, was just man in a bubble.
Man in a bubble.
But yeah, I thought that was interesting, and I know the vow that he took, and I don't know off the top of my head, but that's something that existed in a few canon stories.
In a few of the stories that Charles Soule wrote for the High Republic stuff, was Here, keep checking your notes. I'll look up. Oh, here, I found it. Never mind. I found it really quick. The Barash Vow. So he had posted something about it. So it was in this episode 2. Yeah, he took the Barash Vow. And it first time it was shown was in Darth Vader #2 graphic novel from Charles Soule. And then they also showed Barash herself in the story of the Blade. And this is
Story of the Blade.
This is what Barash looked like. So assuming she was the first one to take that vow, but it wasn't called that at that time. But my question with that vow is that, like, so if he's in that for a decade, does that mean like he doesn't have to eat or drink or, you know, go to the bathroom?
With the Force, you just get rid of it.
Yeah, they just have a really strong janitorial team.
I mean, there was a hole above him.
Yeah. You're okay. You're not going to be a Padawan. You get to either be a farmer or you're going to be a janitor for this temple, taking care of this guy.
Well, it's the same thing when in TV shows and stuff. They're like, "Oh, you were knocked out for 3 straight days, but I took care of you. Did you clean my pants and stuff as well? Because I'm sure something came out." Like
we're asking the tough questions here.
It's
yeah. He
got it.
Yeah, and it seems like it's a penance kind of thing. That's sort of the vibe of that.
Right.
Yeah. So, and he at least recognizes that he did something terrible. So he might have the most self-awareness of any Jedi I've ever seen.
Yeah. Which I'm almost surprised they didn't put, because I know sometimes like with shows or stuff when there is suicide, I don't know if it's like super considered suicide because you don't see it. Like you kind of see him, like he drinks the poison.
You don't see him drink it, do you?
Yeah, I don't remember. It might just be implied, but like I know usually like within like media now, like if there is like a suicide or something like within, which I don't know.
At the end of the episode, it pops up suicide hotline.
Yeah, like I don't know if this live show is going to get flagged now because it hears me say that word in this now. But we'll usually like have like a trigger warning, like disclaimer at the beginning of it, like saying something about that.
Yeah.
So I thought that was interesting, but I don't actually, because if neither of us can remember like seeing him actually,
I don't think he drank it.
I think we just visualized him drinking it, and like that's why we think that we saw him drink it, maybe, but maybe we just.
Oh, well, I think they just show him dead with the empty vial.
Yeah, I think that's it's just that like maybe so it's just implied. I thought he looked like the oldest
Jeremy
brother.
Jam?
Jeremy or what?
Jeremy Jam?
from Parks and Rec.
Yes.
No, I thought he looked to like the oldest brother from Malcolm in the Middle.
Kind of.
Danny Masterson's brother?
Yeah.
Steve or whatever his name is.
Yeah, but I thought he kind of looked like that dude a little bit. But like if like they had aged, I mean he might probably be old enough to just like at this point to do that without makeup, but that's kind of like the vibe I got at first too, like especially with the beard and like the hair. But this episode
Masterson.
This episode 2 we met Manny Jacinto's character, and I don't even remember what he said in the episode, but it was like in these 2 episodes he said something in it that like made me laugh out loud, like very loudly. I don't even remember what it was now, but like I know it was funny enough and caught me off guard enough where I just like laughed really loud. But yeah,
Portals.
And no Molotov cocktail. He made that poison, but he couldn't like get a. Like,
he was high on spice. He was bored. He said it flat out.
Now,
whenever something doesn't make sense in Star Wars, they were high on spice.
Yeah, spice.
It's true.
Just the easy way to do it.
I mean, you just borrow that from Dune, so I mean, that's like part of like that's partly inspired by Dune.
The Star Wars version of a wizard did it.
And I think I know what your theory is too for who the master is for May.
Yeah, I think it's him.
Manny
like,
just like where he's playing the fool, but he actually I mean, that would make sense too, because like Manny Jacinto is in super good shape, so they probably can have him like do some
Flipped and shit.
yeah, like the same way like Tom Holland is able to do like all that stuff as Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Like Manny Jacinto can probably just do all that stuff as whatever the other character is going to be named, because they
Darth
don't really
Smiley.
have Darth Smiley. Darther Fleck. But yeah, I think that's it's gonna be like be played maybe as like a twist, which it still could be a pretty good one, like depending on like how it's like revealed or whatnot, or maybe we were wrong too.
No.
But I think that could be interesting. And the thing I like in this episode too, with like like they immediately are like, well, oh yeah, it can't be OSHA because like it happened again and she's with you. So like the only reason they like now believe her is because she wasn't where the like
they trusted Soul was responsible enough not to lose her.
Yeah.
But then they immediately think she killed what's his face with the poison.
Oh yeah.
Until Yord's like, I was watching her.
I was following her. I was following her because I didn't trust her, but because I followed her, now I trust her. So actually, what it did was a good thing.
So let me steam my cape again.
Yeah. Unless I'm just walking around without a shirt on too, which I also thought that was funny that Daphne Keane was like, "Put your robes on." like I'm not impressed. Put away your forced 6-pack. I don't want to see it.
Forced 6-pack.
Your forced keg, but
I do like the different outposts that they have, like showing this era of the Jedi, like the fact that he's at this outpost and there's just again it's a bunch of like basically a bunch of space cops hanging out, and they are just not equipped for any of this. They're not used to this, and so like I love kind of seeing this like bumbling group of Jedi try to like solve this mystery where it's like, you guys, it's like the local cops. You're like, it's leave this to the the home office.
Jedi Scooby-Doo.
Yeah. And then like again with Yord here too, where like he wants to like rush in and be like the one to like take out like or just like run in there and like intimidate Manny Jacinto, whereas like Daphne Keane has the idea to just like trick him. Send OSHA in there as May, and OSHA's just able to find like this cover all thing that kind of looks just like her sisters, and in between these two episodes too, are like the two of them are having these visions of one another like as children, which is kind of going with like our whole idea of like maybe it being like a forced Dia type thing. And both of them thought the other one was dead too, which I thought was interesting too. It wasn't just like a one-way thing where like OSHA just assumed that May was dead, but May knew that OSHA was alive. And that's why like she was spiteful or whatnot. So I think the more interaction we see between them should be interesting as well too. And I know Mike also had another note about Yord saying something in this episode too. Yeah. He said something.
Oh, he's the one who said that? Yeah, he said the thing.
Whoa. Here I come. Oh, here I come. Oh.
Yeah, he did the I have a bad feeling about the thing.
That's right.
It was like, he said the thing. That was my big caps. I wrote that down.
He said the thing.
Which I realized was, looking into it, it was the last time that was said in live action was Rise of Skywalker. So it's been a while.
Been a minute.
Yeah.
This is now continuity-wise, timeline-wise, live-action, Star Wars-wise, the first instance of it being said, technically now too.
There you go.
So
Yord created it. Put it.
There you go, Yord. So now, whenever somebody else says it, they're now referencing. You remember that Jedi from like 100 plus years ago, and he said that thing for the first time. It just kind of caught wildfire across all the space and the outer rim. It's a good saying, guys. I'm glad to keep saying it.
Steamed it into the universe.
Yeah, that still makes me laugh though. Like when he got up, like with how like proper, like he tried to fix his cape as he was standing
Yeah.
up.
He's very concerned about it. Yeah.
Yeah. So also, I don't think I said Manny Jacinto's name yet. It's another. There's
You
these
said
very-
Manny Jacinto at least 17 times.
Yeah, I know. It's just easier to say Manny Jacinto than his character's name, Kimar. Like, it's a very Star Wars name where it's got like where it starts with like a Q.
A lot of vowels.
Yeah.
A lot of vowels.
Yeah. The name's got to start with a letter that names don't normally start with.
I mean,
and then have 9
I'd love to play Scrabble in Star Wars because I think you could get away with a lot of words.
They have to have a Star Wars edition of Scrabble, right?
Oh, they have a Star Wars edition of everything.
Yeah, they have Star Wars
want
Life, Star Wars
merchandising.
Monopoly, Star Wars Operation, which I'm assuming
I
Star Wars
had Star
Operation
Wars
is Darth
Monopoly.
Vader. That's got to be Darth Vader too, right? Star Wars Operation is Darth
No.
Vader. Right?
Somebody in a back to tank or something.
Yeah, it just makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we see May offers the poison turban, the absolution first pass. Stops meditating, willingly takes it. May escapes. Osha poses as her to get information from Kimar. He reveals the existence of May's master and her overall plan. And then that night, Sol confronts May and reveals to her that Osha is alive. Osha attempts to stun May, but misses, which it seemed like she was missing on purpose.
Yeah.
Which was weird because I was like, it's just a stun. So, like, I can see if you're trying to miss, if it's like shooting to kill, but like, you already know she's doing like this bad stuff, so why not try to?
She might not have as much faith in the Jedi as she mentioned in the last episode. You know, she might be worried that, okay, well, they might just kill her.
Well, they did. She did flunk out of there for a reason. So
she got a tattoo. Saul didn't like that tattoo.
Can't be doing that.
I do like that Sol said something. It was, she said, "Oh, I wasn't a very good student," and he said, "Well, perhaps I wasn't a very good teacher." I was like, again, a rare moment of self-awareness. Like, just he's got Qui-Gon vibes to me.
Yeah, which almost makes me think that he might die too.
Yeah,
I thought he was going to so soon with the fight scene, but
then
that
he
did not happen.
Did the close-up magic and took all her time.
Which that fight scene was pretty cool to me.
Yeah, that was cool.
Because he was just like, no, stop.
And that he kind of recognized, like, you know, she wasn't attacking with a weapon. He was just like, why are you doing this? What's going on?
Right.
Like, I think he's sort of onto something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then he's just like inner brain immediately, like, oh, wow.
Yeah. But that's kind of, you know, like, I love the, you know, fighting without the weapon thing, because like I kind of would have loved to have seen in the prequels that's how Yoda and the Emperor would fight.
Agreed.
Because I think that was sort of the original plan, was that they didn't need lightsabers. And you know, it's cool seeing Yoda do flips and swing around like a pool cue, but like I think the fact that you can be this Jedi Master and not need that is really cool. So I loved seeing that in action, because I kind of imagine that's what Yoda's fighting style would have been if they kind of went that direction.
Yeah, that's one of my biggest complaints of the prequels was Yoda was like so acrobatic.
Yeah,
it's like it doesn't fit the character that we know.
And the Emperor kind of makes fun of the lightsaber, and you know, he treats it like it's a toy when he's talking to Luke. You know, and he almost looks down on it. So like the fact that those two, it's like, no, those are supposed to be like the best of each team, and they don't need it. You know?
Right.
It's true. And then Mike had a good note here about May has the ultimate use.
Pocket sand.
Yeah, pocket sand. Yeah, like just like
force blow to the ground and
pocket sand.
Pocket sand.
Anakin would have hated that.
Yeah. It's like we found his Achilles heel.
Oh, my only
Pocket
weakness.
sand. Yeah, it was. God, it's like I was talking to Bonnie about this earlier. We're like, this naturally came up because Star Wars is like 70% of the conversations in this house. But the fact that, you know, when Luke showed up to fight the Emperor, and the fact that like Yoda and Obi-Wan were talking to him, but no one warned him about the lightning.
Right.
Like, just
like
the fact he's like, hey, just when you're going into this, like he does this thing. You'll probably be able to block it because he kind of telegraphs it for a second. But so I think the sand has got to be something to where like the next generation, they're like teaching all the Padawans, and they're just like, okay, so today's lesson, force sand. You got to watch out for that. Here's your goggles. Like,
true.
You can
That feels
speed
like-
walk, but only once a millennia.
it's just once.
That feels like that would have been like part of like a Robot Chicken or like Family Guy, like cut to joke where they're talking like talking about like the Emperor having like the the first thing.
Yeah.
But we
when
also
you see him slowly raise his arms, just get ready.
He's not playing the piano.
he's not starting to do Thriller. He's gonna shoot, like, although he is playing the piano. If you find a certain gif of Palpatine from Revenge of the Sith, or is he doing the piano, or is he like DJing? I don't know. It's like something where he's doing doing something like with his hands. But yeah, like we've talked about a little bit here too. But at the end of this episode, we see Top Knot Kelnaka, the lone Wookiee on this planet,
Top
which I'm
knot.
assuming
Got the Coruscant Top Knot.
Coruscant Top Knot, or we'll probably see him at the start of the episode next week. There,
Just snaps that guy's gun in half. He's just like, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, I know one of the other notes that I had in here that I didn't really touch on yet was that it seems like we kind of did, but it was like where May is kind of going to be like a patsy that's like meant to fail, as like she'll do like what she's trying to do, but it's almost like if people have seen like Captain America Civil War, where like Zemo's whole thing was trying to take down the like Avengers from like within inside, where it's like a way to take out the institution of the Jedi from basically by making them do it themselves, with like if one of them is to kill essentially like an unarmed, for all intents and purposes, person, and then with like the way that they're already trying to cover it up with who
Adam keeps saying they're bad at this. They're just
so it seems like if she does succeed, it's gonna come at the thing of like her dying probably, which is interesting because at least with usually like within real life and then in Star Wars, like the like faith is a good thing, where it's like faith is good, it helps people, and it like allows them to be good people, or to try to go down a certain path of whatever they may be. But usually organized religion as a thing itself, like Jediism,
wherever the money is
it tends to be a bad thing, because it's not usually about the same thing as what the faith is about. So
right.
we're like, at least from what we're seeing with like the Jedi now too, are like where they're almost more putting on like what they think people think the Jedi should be like, and like that's why like their robes are all like super like quote unquote like kind of like glamorous in like this kind of time period. I
did notice that. Very elegant.
Yeah, like way more
less
like
homeless.
Like knights, like like Knights Templar, like more closer to like the like where we get like the term knight, than like where they are like much later on.
Jedi hobo.
Oh yeah, what is like the like Ezra says? What do they call Ezra, like for the kind of there's like a name for the
it's like the trained in the wild Jedi. Wasn't trained in the temple, the feral Jedi.
Feral Jedi. There's a name for it. I do not remember it right now, but at least those are at least like my closing thoughts for both of the episodes. But like, you guys have any other thoughts that we didn't touch on yet as we're kind of like wrapping up?
No,
I'm intrigued to where they're gonna go. Like, it's a different feel. Star Wars. It's got the Force. It's heavily Force like related, unlike Andor, which is like anti-Force related. So it's different than what we have so far because it didn't feel too bubblegummy.
That's true.
So I'm interested to see if they explore more areas of the Force that we haven't seen, like quote unquote Force Fu fighting without a weapon. So it's curious to where it's going to go. I enjoyed it so far.
Yeah, I think it's cool too that when they introduce new Force powers or styles of fighting and stuff like that, Disney's good about peppering those in kind of before they become prevalent. Because you saw Ezra doing that in Ahsoka. And so, or the same thing with, I think, the Force healing. Oh, yeah, they did that in Mandalorian before Rise of Skywalker. So, yeah, I agree. I think it'll be cool to see if there's other kind of Force abilities that they kind of show people. And I'm curious. There we go. I'm curious if it's going to be the twist that we all kind of think it's going to be, or if there's going to be another twist and this is a red herring with Manny Jacinto. But by the end of this season, I'm going to learn that character's name.
I don't know how to say it. It's like Kimar or something.
Manny Jacinto or the smiley face guy?
Manny Jacinto.
Oh
yeah, I'm sticking with his Darth Smiley.
Yeah, Darth Smiley. There you go.
Darth Smiley
or Darth or Fleck. How about you, Mike? Did you?
I already talked. You.
Oh yeah,
that was the first one to go. How about you, Mark?
I enjoyed it. I'm also looking forward to seeing where it goes from here because I do like the pace that it's moving at too, where they weren't like lingering on like the mystery of if it was May or Osha for like 5 or 6 episodes before, like, oh, these are different people. I feel like that could have been a thing that maybe like they kept you guessing for multiple episodes on end. Are these the same people, or are these 2 different people? But no, like you knew that by the by the end of the first episode, you knew that it was 2 different people. So I like that, and like it already seems like already 2 of the 4 people that May is going after are dead already too. So
I know what Carrie Ann Moss do to piss off Kathleen Kennedy.
Although I mean, I still really think that she's going to show back up in flashbacks and in more.
Yeah,
at least 1 episode, if not maybe more. But I guess we'll see there. But yeah, I'm curious to see where it goes. It's cool too because this is like the first kind of at least live action series, or I think even within the animated series, where it's like all brand new characters outside of the one that's been in some of the books that we have kind of like no vested built-in history with or know anything about. I'm hoping that we actually don't see Yoda in this either too. Like,
yeah, I was just gonna ask, do you think Yoda makes an appearance?
I hope not. Like, I just want it to stay like with these characters we've already met in this episode, and like the one other one that didn't show up but we know is cast for the series. Like, I don't think Yoda needs to show up because like he's in enough of the Skywalker movies and Clone Wars and stuff where he doesn't need to have just like a random 100 years younger version of himself show up in this. Even if he's like just like in the background, you're like, oh look, there's Yoda. No, they don't even need to do that. Like, that's cool. Just I like the characters.
Did you see him in the background just doing backflips across the screen?
Yeah, he's like, hey guys, I'm 100 years younger, so I can do this really easily right now.
Talking normal, so you don't think it's Yoda.
Yeah, maybe it's before, so it's like just Yoda saying, hey guys,
before he strokes out.
Maybe this is what happens to him, and he's got PTSD 100 years later, so that's why he then speaks the way that he does, because he's still affected by it.
Maybe May hits him in the head with a knife, and it doesn't kill him. It just
hits the blunt end of it hits him, not the pointy.
It just affects lobotomizes him.
Just hits him in just the right spot where he's like, oh. But yeah, so I think that'll do it then for this episode to finish on lobotomy. Where can people find you online, Adam?
Yeah. Instagram at adam.molloyvo right there. And then Twitter is at Adam J. Molloy. So that's where I can most likely be found.
Nice.
Roger.
For us, you can then find us at holopod.com.
We're here.
If you can't spell hold a maneuver, but if you can spell hold a maneuver, there's also holdamaneuver.com. And then Mike and mine are also in our names on the screen too. So
my name.
If you follow
Make sure you follow the one with a J in it if there's one with a J in it.
Yeah, because otherwise it'll be Mike's dad. Outside of that, as always, we are grateful to George Lucas for creating the Star Wars universe.
Oh dear, thank the maker.
And thank you again, Adam, for joining us today.
Yes,
Yeah,
thank
of course. Thanks for having me.
Bye, everybody.